This episode of Made in America is brought to you by America's Inventor Lady and Home Talk USA. Home Talk is a proud member of the King's Broadcasting Network, which has been bringing you the best in home-based innovation since 1998.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us for this episode of Made in America.
This segment is brought to you by the law offices of R.P. Baraska. RPB law offices have been bringing corporate-level legal expertise to the independent inventor community for more than 20 years. For all your inventing legal needs, trust rpblawoffices.com.
Welcome, America. That's right. This is the Made in America show right here on the Home Talk USA radio network. Want to welcome all of you that's now tuning in from the Invent America show. And got a great hour for you. Sure hope you stay with us. And we're going to be talking to some real great guests. We're going to be talking about the features and benefits of purchasing products and technology here in the great old USA. But now I'd like to welcome the co-host of the show, the Made in America show, the inventor lady herself, Miss Rita Crompton. Miss Rita, great job as always, segueing into this fantastic Made in America show from Invent America.
You know, it's wonderful to be on the radio and talk to people coast to coast and tell the story so that when they're out there looking and they see, oh, Rogers Manufacturing, you know, Made in America, that they say, I'm going to take this one. You know, if they see another product out there that, you know, there's 2 or 3 lined up and they see the logo Made in America, they have got to, you know, the companies that are doing those have got to have specific qualifiers before they can put that label on the packaging, because there's a lot of, you know, companies that would like to say Made in America, but they're not Made in America. And, you know, it's really wonderful to be able to tell those stories because there are a lot of companies out there that are manufacturing right in our own backyard. And it's fun to be able to share that with all of America so America knows what they're looking for.
Yeah, last week we talked about the government crackdown on, they really getting very serious, the series of fines that are now coming out with, you know, misrepresenting to the consumer of products that's realistically not made here in the U.S. and they're just slapping a label on it. So I'm glad to see that. And of course, I'm going to be following up that in future shows to see how I maybe get some government officials on to talk about that. But, you know, we make great arguments here. And, you know, we like to, you know, this show's mission statement is basically to go to all these CEOs and make our case, you know, when they're determining whether or not to manufacture abroad or keep the manufacturing here in the United States. And if they don't want to keep it here, then we want to find out the reasons why, because the only way we're going to get better, the only way we're going to keep this train going is to produce here in the United States. And that's our end result and goal, right, Rita?
Absolutely. And, you know, as we've seen things shift now from, you know, where things were predominantly made in America to then getting, you know, everything moving overseas because it was cheaper. And, you know, there were a lot of reasons for that. We've, you know, talked about them. And now we're starting to see that shift swing back. So it's really nice to be on the cutting edge of more and more products coming back. And for a variety of reasons. Some of it's the tariffs, we know about that. Some of it is the quality of the product is so much better when it's made in America. And that, you know, I think a lot of the things overseas were manufactured for obsolescence, that they would last so many years, and then when the warranty ran out, the product broke. Whereas in America, you can actually still get things that are made in America that have a lifetime guarantee. And I think that speaks really, really well for that made in America status.
Well, I wonder who predicted that many years ago. I was listening to some of my old archives, and my favorite saying back then was, "Listen to this, everybody, you'll be back," and that was my favorite saying. Rita, I've been covering this for almost 30 years, and I remember the mass exodus. I remember the early days. We talked about this and said, "King, are you even going to survive on the air?" I said, "It's going to be tough because, I lost a lot of sponsors. I lost a lot of, as the, companies was exiting out of the United States, and and it was rough, but hey, I'm still here and they're all gone. So that's the beauty of it. The grace of God, this show is still putting out that education information. But at the end of the day, how can you compete? Take the product out. Just take the technology in manufacturing the product. Just take that out the equation right quick. How do you, when you're a nation that invents things and we don't counterfeit things or we don't steal things, when you invent things and you have the quality of the craftsmanship that we have here in the United States and the ingenuity of our people, how can the rest of the world compete with that? They can't. They can compete with price. They can compete with price because they cheap. Yeah. There's a difference us paying, $25 an hour for manufactured works and then, working for 75 cents an hour. There's a difference. The quality of air, the quality of water, the quality of work conditions. I mean, they don't have OSHA. They don't have, I know OSHA takes a bad rap and sometimes they deserve it. I'm being honest with you. But at the end of the day, again, my favorite saying was, I hate to bring it up, but Ronald Reagan was my favorite president. I think Trump's my second, but I'm still a Ronald Reagan fan, and he always said, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help. That's when you need to run. And at the end of the day, get him out of the equation.
There you go.
And run fast. But, at the end of the day, you can't meet, and I visit, in the early days, I visit all these towns, all these, I had Guy Woods. You remember Guy Woods? I had him the last hour. He's a great American manufacturer in California, Northern California. And I visit his plant. I visit the Binite plant. I visit Classic Roof plant. I mean, I visit all these plants. And I need to tell you, when you walk in, man, the quality of lives in these communities of education, tax base, infrastructure, you can't, that's what it's all about, when you're producing in the United States. But
one of the big ones just down the road from me is the Bush's baked beans plant. And it's been there for decades.
Yeah.
And, it's just, you drive by it and you think, oh my God, let's go get some baked beans. And, the fact that they're just right in our own backyard, it's not a huge metropolitan area. It's back in the, the Cherokee National Forest. And, you come around this curve and you think, holy cow, there is a huge factory right there. And it's got the big signs and, people go in, it's a vacation destination out here. Yeah. Who would have thought that, your factory would have, oh, come on in. Here's, the guest quarters and stuff. So, it's a lot of fun to see them right there and that they're thriving.
Yeah.
I got Bush's baked beans in my cupboard.
And it don't hurt to have, they also have the best baked beans. I mean,
there you go.
as a 5-star chef, I need to tell you, I got some recipes I took off of them. So, hey, it is what it is. But you're right. You see the quality of life in the community when you can provide good jobs, good infrastructure, good tax base, good fair tax base. Not, you know what I'm talking about, not overtaxing. But
and when you start realizing the trickle down, and we're going to talk about this with my next guest too, is that when you're in a community, it impacts the whole community. The grocery stores, the gas stations, the neighborhoods, and the builders, and everything, grows and thrives around that business. And it makes a huge difference in the communities that, we are still manufacturing and building in America.
Yeah, and that's the key to the whole thing. We're still manufacturing, and it's getting, the tax base now. Everybody thought of, we got into the tariff situation. We're going to get off that a second, but we got, what happened there, and a lot of it became not true. But at the end of the day, it's just keeping these great companies, great technology here.
I think that
But
some of it too was that, there was so much on the news and social media and everything about manufacturing moving away. And so everyone just assumed they had no options. They had to
yeah,
buy made in China. They had to buy made someplace else because it wasn't being made in America. And
yeah,
what all the, different made in America shows are telling Americans is that no, no, you can buy it right here. You can
yeah.
still find made in America products. You just have to go and look at the packaging.
Yeah, and I did tests and I did experiments over the years with that between putting products on the shelf that were made here in the United States and products that made in abroad. And if we don't give them a reason to buy American, that's the problem. They're not going to buy American. They're going to go cheap. But if we can give them a reason to purchase them products, and you remember that story I did at Ace with the bullet points with the tape measure, true story. And we went from 0 to 10, not buying them rulers here in the United States, from 6 to 10 when I asked people to spend a little bit more money for the ruler, but I gave them the bullet points on exactly what's going to happen if they buy that ruler. And the American consumer, as always, did not let me down. Well, we're going to have to take a short break. This is the Made America Show right here on the Made America Network. I am the Cajun contractor, Michael King, along with the inventor lady herself, Rita Crompton. We're going to be back with our first guest. Y'all don't go. Hey, don't go nowhere now. Y'all come back now, you hear? Yeah.
This segment is brought to you by SearchQuest Patent Search. SearchQuest provides for a comprehensive patent search that searches the entire world and not just the U.S. Patent Office. Make sure that before you spend those big bucks having a patent written, you've done your due diligence by getting a comprehensive patent search. Use SearchQuestPatents.com for all your patent search needs. They scour the world for you.
Welcome back. This is the Made America Show. Don't forget, please tune in each week and every week on all 3 hours. The first hour is Home Talk USA. The second hour is Invent America. And the third hour is Made in America right here on the King's Broadcasting Network, streaming live all across America on the King's Broadcasting Network. Rita, who's sponsoring this hour?
This hour is sponsored by RPB Law Offices. RPB Law Offices have been bringing corporate level legal expertise to the independent inventor community for more than 20 years. So for all of your inventing legal needs, trust RPB Law Offices. And I'm really excited to introduce my guest for this Made in America show. It is John Cunningham. He is the president of Rogers Manufacturing. And Rogers Manufacturing has been working since what, 1890s?
1891.
1891. Okay, so I'm
Yep.
assuming you're not the founder.
I am not the founder.
All right. So tell us, what is Rogers Manufacturing?
So Rogers Manufacturing these days, it's evolved over the years, which we'll talk about, but we are a custom injection molder. So we mold plastic parts for OEMs, people like that, but we also do work for some inventors, as you've been discussing. And we also go through that whole design and development process with some of these folks. So we offer design skills on both the plastic parts, the injection molds, material selection, assembly, and all of those good things. So we're kind of a one-stop shop in that respect as it comes to plastic parts. So we can offer the whole spectrum.
Interesting. So, what was the beginnings? What, back in the 1890s, we weren't doing a lot of injection molding. What did they start with?
Yep. So it started out as a bone products manufacturer. So we're set up back here on the River in central Connecticut, Rockfall, Connecticut. And it started as a bone products manufacturer. So everything from corncob pipe stems, knife handles, combs, buttons, all of those kinds of things. And then as a byproduct of the bone products, you got bone fertilizer. And so that lasted up until about the 1950s. So the late 40s, early 50s, things started really tapering off on the bone front. In 1955, Vincent Battelle Sr. purchased the company, And in 1956, he purchased the Bridgeport Plastic and Rubber Company, and that began our entrance into the world of plastics. So a lot of things, the bone-handled knives kind of went away in favor of Delrin handles, which are still used even today on a lot of knives. So back, way back in the day, a folding knife might have a bone handle, and then it all switched over to plastic. So Vincent Battelle Sr. purchased it, picked up the plastics company, and the rest is, as they say, history. We've been in the injection molding business ever since. So it's been a good ride.
So what are some of the things that you make?
So we have several product lines for OEM. So we have a, commercial blending food processing company, an institutional food service company that supplies hospitals, prisons with food service items. We have our own proprietary line of, I say it's our own proprietary line, but of milk crates for the dairy industry, which some are displayed behind me. So we supply dairies from Virginia to Maine, and out through Pennsylvania and New York. So we keep those dairies able to basically package up the milk and yogurts and things like that that they're producing in those dairies to get them out to the grocery stores. We have a storage company, several storage companies actually, industrial storage for MRO parts, as well as a weapon storage company, and we mold parts for them. And then through how I met Kevin was we actually picked up some proprietary products from another molder that was going out of business. So we picked up the cord safe and the blade guard product lines, and Kevin is the one that's been helping us with that, and that's how all of this came to pass.
It's a wonderful story. So, how do you guys see your impact in the community?
We obviously try to be good stewards within the community. Everything's important. We're actually in a residential neighborhood. So that's kind of first and foremost is, keep your immediate neighbors happy. But it's a small community, so I run into, um, you know, the fire department folks. I run into, other local businesses. I run into those people, at the little deli that's right up the street. So we're constantly talking back and forth. So it's kind of nice. It's a little piece of the past that's still going on here in central Connecticut. So
Yeah, it's wonderful. We've talked about how, a factory, okay, that's right here on our own soil impacts the entire community because, the people that work for you, oh yeah, they go to the grocery store, and oh yeah, then that keeps people at the grocery store employed in the gas station and the schools. It really does make a difference.
it does. Yes, absolutely. Most of our employees don't live right here in this immediate community, but they're, 10, 15 minutes away. And we have a lot of employees that have been here a long time. We actually just celebrated a 50-year anniversary of one of our employees. Still comes to work every day, never takes a day off. So keeping your employees happy is also part of being in the community. You don't want to have a bad rap with how you treat your employees. So you want to treat them well, and that's also part of being a good steward within your community. Obviously all of the other things, factor in environmental, things like that. You want to be completely above board on all those things as well.
You do. And, when your employees are happy, it makes a huge difference because that, it bounces back off of you on a pretty regular basis because they're out in the community talking.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Yep. So we run around the clock. We run 3 shifts around the clock, 5 days a week. Sometimes a year will be 6, 7 days a week. And again, overtime is one of those things where people either love it or hate it. And we have some people that absolutely love it. So it hasn't been a problem just getting people to volunteer for that. The dairy industry is very back end loaded within the year with schools going back.
If you're an inventor or you know an inventor out there who would just like to be able to have a conversation with other inventors, join the Inventors Roundtable. It's free. The meetings are virtual, so you can be anywhere in America and talk to another inventor. And for a lot of folks out there, understanding the process, being able to ask questions, getting good service provider information is critical to the inventing process. So, got questions? Want to join? It's free, inventorsroundtable.org.
And thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Made in America. It is wonderful to be able to tell the stories of those factories that are very often right in our own backyard. And my guest is John Cunningham, president of Rogers Manufacturing. So, John, I'm sure that, when you were in kindergarten, you didn't think, oh, I'm going to grow up and be president of Rogers Manufacturing. How did you get there?
So I've been in manufacturing for 30 something years now. I started in manufacturing with another plastics company called Rubbermaid Corporation in Cleveland, Ohio. When I got out of the military, I started for them, and they were acquired by Newell. And so one thing's led to another. And, I actually came from a customer of Rogers. So even though I've only been here for 3 years, I've known a lot of these folks for close to 20. It was kind of a natural step, a little awkward, but natural at the same time.
There you go. So at this point, as you've seen changes, obviously, even though you weren't around in, 1891, you've certainly been aware of the company's history. What has been the biggest challenge?
So I think the biggest challenge is something that is not unique to anybody else in New England, but it's really the cost base of manufacturing within New England. We tend to be ahead of the curve on things like labor rates and things like that. Utilities are high. So those are challenges that we face even competing domestically, much less against an offshore competitor. Trying to save every single year, trying to get better, trying to utilize automation or whatever it may be in order to get better and try to save that money, because increasing your costs on a non-material basis to your customers is sort of a self-defeating prophecy. So you don't want to be doing that every single year, but it's been a tough challenge. We're not unique in the fact that you have to retain your customers, not losing customers, adding new customers, adding new business. Those are all the challenges that not just us, but every manufacturer really faces that. So those are the big ones.
So what has been the biggest surprise?
The biggest surprise, honestly, when I came over here, I knew some employees, but I didn't know all of them. And I've been very, very surprised by the employees here. I mentioned the longevity in the last segment. We have a 50-year employee who's still here every single day, doesn't take a day off. We have multiple 40, 30, 20-year employees, a lot of resourcefulness. And that's really been a huge advantage as well. There's, not to say they don't make them like that anymore, but we have some extremely bright people here that have made my job, quite honestly, made it pretty easy. Especially, part design, mold design, things like that, where it gets very technical. We have a great mold and part designer. We have some very creative people here. When it comes to design, we have some people, including myself, that are utilizing AI more and more. But the resourcefulness of the employees, we have employees that just make you smile every day. They're just happy. It's a great place to come to work because of that. So that was my biggest surprise, is I knew they had good people. I didn't realize the extent of it. So it's been great.
Well, that's wonderful. And so you mentioned a couple of, kind of trigger words for me. That as technology has changed, I am sure that since the 1950s, when you first started working in the plastics arena, to now with AI, and, there's sometimes AI can be very good, and there's sometimes when AI is really stupid. So what have you seen in that transition stage as far as how technology is changing? And it hurts or it helps?
it's really hard, and I don't know where AI is ultimately heading. I just know that, we've started using it more and more, even in problem solving. It's been pretty amazing some of the creative solutions that have come back. When you have some kind of an issue that you're dealing with, and you've got all this in-house expertise, quite honestly, in some cases, 70 years worth of expertise, and everybody's kind of banging their head against a wall. And it's like, hey, what about this? And you put it into either chat or Claude or whatever, and you get these, just you would think initially maybe off the wall answers, and we've seen them work actually multiple times so far. It's certainly AI is more than that, and it will be more than that. But we've definitely been utilizing it more on that end. We even use it in some of our design aspects, just to test it out and see what it comes back with, and even that has netted some serious benefits for us. Automation, certainly robotics, things like that. You can't not do those things. But the other thing that you're up against when you have the number of injection molding machines that we do is you're up against not planned, but time obsolescence of equipment. Over time, these OEMs stop supporting things. And so you're in this constant replenishment, and every new model that you get in has more bells and whistles on it than the last one that you purchase. It's pretty amazing how fast the technology is advancing.
Oh, yeah. Back in the day, you could change the oil in your car yourself. These days, you don't dare touch anything because you'll break it. And yeah, they're still going in to get the oil changed, but, it can be a really different experience. And then if they don't change the mechanism on your dashboard, it still says you need to change your oil. It's like, oh, come on.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
exactly.
that technology is, it's interesting. It makes things, it can make things easier. It can make things more challenged. I always say AI is like a hammer. If you use it correctly, the nail goes into the wood. If you miss, it still breaks your thumb. So, you got to pay attention to how you're using it.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So yeah, I mean, all of those things are what we've been, trying to do to stay competitive, to keep our costs as low as possible. This year's been, certainly a little challenging with, what's going on in Iran, and resin prices spiked immediately thereafter. And, that's our core business. We're probably molding with about, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 different resins, in different quantities. But, I'm not sure there's one of them that hasn't either become very hard to find, super expensive, so lately it's been almost, just getting price increases almost every other day. So that creates other challenges as well. I'm hopeful that this will end soon so that things can come back to some state of normalcy. Because that is a huge part of our business, and obviously we can't just absorb that, so we have to pass that on, and then our customers are passing that on. So ultimately, the consumer is the one that's going to pick up the tab for that. But
It always seems to trickle down to the consumer, doesn't it?
yeah, it does. Yep.
It's just kind of the nature of the beast. So is your, the, we see the gas prices going up, the war in Iran. That was the first hit to the consumer was the gas prices. Most of us, I don't think they realize how much other stuff is impacted, not just by gas prices with transporting everything, but, like you had said about the resin. Where does most of the resin come from?
I mean, it comes from all over the world. It depends on what it is. Some of it is produced domestically. Some of it comes in from offshore. Some of it, even though it may be produced domestically, some of the feedstocks that go into create, compounding the resin, some of those come from the Middle East. So it's, the world is flat when it comes to resin.
All right, I don't mean to be stupid here. When we come back, the question I want you to answer is, what is resin and how do you use it? So we're going to run off. We're going to pay some bills, everybody. And then I've got, kind of this very elementary question for John when we come back. So stick with us and we're going to find out more about what really is resin. So let us go pay some bills and we will be right back.
True Up, the easiest way to hang your pictures. We all know how stressful picture hanging can get. True Up comes with everything you need to level and hang pictures with no damage and no mess. Just peel, apply the adhesive to the back of the True Up mount and press firmly. Remove the remaining adhesive. Use the level and press and hold for 3 to 5 seconds to attach the True Up mount to your wall with a strong hold. The True Up frame adapter is compatible with most frames on the market. Apply the adhesive strip to the adapter, stick, and your frame hangs easily on the wall mount. This lets you adjust your picture side to side for perfect placement every time. The possibilities are limitless, and it's easy on your walls. Picture hanging can be truly a one-person job. True Up, the future of hanging is here.
And thank you so much for being with us for Made in America. And my guest is John Cunningham. He is president of Rogers Manufacturing. Okay, John, you're going to get to educate us now for this segment. What is resin and why do we need it?
So I don't profess to be an expert in resin compounding. However, the resin I don't know how many thousands of different types of resin there are, but there are a lot. And it usually comes to us in pellet form, and it comes from a compounder. And the compounder is using derivatives from the oil refining process to create these plastic pellets. And when you use them in a molding or extrusion type process, you're getting something out of that resin, which is a benefit that you were looking for. So if you put it in context of like inventors that come to us with products, we have one right now that wasn't even sure what kind of material to make this out of. So based on the properties that he wanted in this product, you basically look at the resins that are available on the market, and you determine like, hey, I need it to be tough, but I need it to be slick at the same time when it's in its molded property. And then you select the resin that you're going to use for that. So we do that pretty routinely with inventors that come to us with their products. They may not know, they know what they want, but they don't know, how to get it from point A to point B to make it a molded part. And then in some cases, they come to us with a design that quite honestly can't be injection molded. And then we have to steer them, I'll steer them in another direction and say, hey, this really isn't the process for that part, but maybe you should check this company or that company because their process might work for that. So the resins, really, you're looking for some kind of a property. And that's how you select the resins. And again, they're compounded all over the world.
Is it like a plastic?
It's a plastic. It's a little plastic pellet. They come in big boxes, of these pellets, depending on the quantity that you're buying. They come in little boxes, big boxes, but they're little pellets of the resin. And then you blend that with a colorant, usually at the injection molding press. And, you can make any given resin, whatever color you want in most instances. That's basically what you're looking for when it comes to material selection.
All right. Is it a byproduct of the oil industry?
It is. Yes. It's a byproduct of oil refining in most cases. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, years ago, I did a product that was kind of the junk product of the oil slicks, of collecting the oil in the oil slicks. And, it sold as an embalming product. I was in the funeral home industry, so it was pretty cool stuff. And instead of throwing it away, they just repackaged it and sold it. So resin then is something that is the byproduct. So if you weren't using it to make a product, it would just pile up and go to waste.
I'm not sure what would happen at that point, but yeah, it's useful in this aspect because there's millions and millions and millions of pounds of this resin that are used, every year all across the world. And in all its different shapes and forms. There's all kinds of different resins for every type of application that you can imagine.
Cool. Thank you for the education. All right.
Yeah.
So what's next? What are your goals for 2026 and 2027? I know that companies always put out, their target things. So what are your goals?
We want to grow. And that's the goal of most companies. So we are looking for new customers, new inventors. So this is a perfect, your podcast is perfect and radio show are perfect for me to be on at this point. Working with Kevin has been certainly eye-opening at FLI Products, because he's my gateway to, I'm used to dealing with OEMs pretty much my entire career. I've been used to dealing with OEMs, not necessarily uh, big box stores and places like that, hardware stores and the Walmarts of the world. And so he's a great conduit for that. And I've learned a lot from him. So we're hoping to grow our proprietary product lines. And then we have some projects with our OEMs that some of them have started, some of them will be starting for new items on their end. So that keeps us busy, and that keeps us, in the continual growth mode. Because if you're not evolving in the landscape that we exist in nowadays, as a manufacturer, it's you're just not going to make it.
Yeah, that's for sure. And being able to grow and look what's coming down the pike so you're ready for it. I know nobody put, pandemic in their 2020 business plan, but oh yeah, here it is. And so, you've got to be able to kind of, sometimes jump when things come crashing down. But, when you've got a plan, it makes jumping a lot easier, right?
It does. And there's been no such thing as a normal year probably since COVID. Every year has had some unique challenge to it, whether it be, last year the tariffs impacted some people that had business tied up in offshore. This year the bombing Iran is having an impact on freight rates and fuel, and certainly the plastic resin. We have the supply chain crisis. So it's just been one thing after another since 2020. So, at this point, you just have to learn how to
Like,
roll with all those punches and keep
yeah,
moving forward.
it's like,
There's no,
surprise, what's the
yeah,
surprise going to be this year? Yuck.
there's no time to sit back and lament what's going on. You just have to deal with it and move on.
For sure. So what kind of inventor do you want to talk to?
Anybody that thinks they have a product, they may or may not know whether it can be made out of plastic or not, but we talk to all comers. We talk to quite a few people. We have a few things in the works right now. And we're always looking for more. We're always looking for another opportunity. We do I personally enjoy that side of my job. So,
All right.
helping people bring a product to market.
Well, that's wonderful. And we will be sure and send you some of those inventors. Thank you so much for being with us today. Everyone,
Thank
have
you.
a wonderful weekend. We will be back next week with a new Made in America show. And, until then, everyone, get out there and have some new ideas.